All right, guys. So you remember last time I made a video, we talked about density columns. Just a reminder, those were when we had a test tube and we had water in the test tube, and then there were different colored layers within that test tube of water. And we said the key reason behind that, why we were able to make layers without the colors mixing, was because each layer had a different density. And we talked about how density is how much stuff is packed into a certain material. Okay. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about how to find density of an object, and then that way we can make a prediction about whether it'll float or sink in certain liquids. Okay. So there's a few things that we need to define before we can go ahead and even talk about how to find density. Those few words are mass and volume. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to write it on the board here. And if you guys remember in the few videos ago, I was annoyed because everything that I was writing was in reverse because I had the camera mixed up. But I figured it out, so we're gonna get this going here. Okay, so first word that we need to define here is mass, and I'm hoping that comes up clearly. Yeah, good clearly. I just got to get out the way. Okay, so mass. This is just how much matter something has. Something has. So remember, matter is just stuff. Okay, so this desk that this computer is resting on is made up of matter. The air I'm breathing, it's made up of matter. It's stuff. Okay? Another word we need to, and actually, I'll go ahead and say mass is sometimes used interchangeably with weight. Okay, so if something's heavy, we'd say, oh, it has a lot of mass. If something is light, not heavy, we'd say, oh, it doesn't have much mass. Weight and mass aren't technically the same thing. There's minor differences, but if it helps you understand what mass is, then sure, let's go ahead and say weight and mass are 99% the same thing. When we do find mass, though, when we're talking about mass, we use the unit grams, and I'll put that in parentheses so we don't forget. We use grams or kilograms. Usually when we're finding weight, we use pounds or ounces, okay? But when we're talking about mass, we're going to use grams. We also want to talk about volume. Volume, this is a math term, and believe it or not, in science this year we'll be doing a lot of math, okay? Because math and science, they really go along with each other. So volume, it's not the type of volume like, this is super loud. No, we're not talking about that kind of volume. This type of volume is the amount of space something takes up. Are you guys, the amount of space something takes up? I'm hoping you, man, my handwriting's off. Not good. Amount of space something takes up. Okay, and it looks pretty clear. Okay, so the units we're going to be using for volume is going to be centimeters cubed. Okay, centimeters cubed. We'll also maybe use milliliters. Okay, milliliters is the same thing as centimeters cubed. Same exact thing. So every once in a while you hear me say centimeters cubed. Sometimes you hear me say milliliters. Just know they're identical. Okay, they have the same value. 1 centimeter cubed is the same as 1 milliliter. Same thing. All right. So we have these two words defined, mass and volume. In order to find the density of an object, we have to know the mass of that object and we have to know the volume of that object. Okay? And once we have these two values, we can find the density. So I'm gonna write our formula. Okay, we'll do this a lot in math. Is we'll have a formula or an equation to help us find out how to answer something or how to find something. So to find density, I'm gonna write density equals, and after I do this, this is gonna tell us how to find density. We take our mass and we divide our mass by our volume. Okay. So to find density, we do mass divided by volume. Now I'm going to come back here. let's keep these things in mind because we're going to go through an example together. And the example we're going to go through is we want to find the density of a marble. Okay, pretty straightforward, common object. Now I'm going to get my scale ready, make sure we have everything. So this scale right here, it has an option of if I want to find the mass by using grams, or if I want to find the weight using ounces. We're going to go to grams, right? Because when we find mass, that is what we deal with. We're using grams. Okay, so we set it clear. Sometimes we just wait for it to load. Okay, I'm going to find our mass of this marble, and right now it is right at 6 grams. Okay, 5 or 6 grams, kind of going back and forth. So I'm going to write on the board, you guys can't see, I'm going to write on the board my reminder. I'll write over here, density of marble. All right, D of marble. And you guys will quickly learn that my handwriting is awful, okay? But I'm doing my best. Density of marble equals, and we said our formula was mass divided by volume. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace mass right here in our equation with its value. And we said 6 grams, right? So I'm going to write 6 grams. Okay. Now we just need to find our volume. Once we know what our volume is, we could just do 6 divided by whatever that is, and we'll be good to go. All right. So we have our mass. Now what's tricky is, how do you find the volume of something like this? How do you find out how much space, I have something in my eyebrow, I'm sorry. How do I find out how much space in centimeters cubed or milliliters, something like this, takes up? We have a nice little trick, okay? We can use what's called a graduated cylinder, and we use graduated cylinders to measure liquids, okay? It has, you can see these little tick marks going along. You can see it says 10, 20, 30, 40, and then between each of those numbers, there are 10 tick marks. Well, I guess 9 little tick marks to be exact. That tell us how many milliliters we're at. So what we do is, to find the volume of something like this, we use the process of displacement. So what that means is we're going to fill the test tube up with water, and we're going to choose a value we want it to be at, okay? So right here, I have the water set to, hopefully you guys can see it, it's right at about 20 milliliters, okay? It's not perfect, but it's at about 20 milliliters. So I'm going to keep that in my mind. Knowing my starting point, write this on the board so I don't forget. My starting point, I'll just do it down here. Starting point, 20 milliliters. And what that's going to do for me is I know in this graduated cylinder at 20 milliliters water, if I dropped that marble in here, what's the water going to do? Well, it's going to rise, right? Because something in it is taking up more space. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop my marble in, and we're going to see where the water ends up. Okay? So I'm going to drop it in. Hopefully it doesn't splash. Yeah, it didn't. Okay. So if we're looking closely here, it looks like the water is at about 23 milliliters. 23 milliliters. So remember, we started at 20 milliliters. Once I added the marble, we ended up at 23 milliliters. So how many milliliters or centimeters cubed must this marble be? What must the volume, how much space must this volume or this marble take up? Well, we jumped 3 milliliters, right? We went from 20 to 23. So that means the marble has a volume of 3 milliliters or 3 centimeters cubed. Okay, so in our equation, where we would normally be writing about or plugging in our unit or our value for our volume, I'm going to write down what our volume was. So we said 3 milliliters. Okay, so if we want to find the volume, or gosh, I'm all over the place now, I'm sorry. If I want to find the density of that marble, all I do is mass divided by volume. So we do 6 grams divided by 3 milliliters. Well, what's 6 divided by 3? 6 divided by 3 is 2. So our density is 2, but that's not an acceptable answer because in this class, we want to have units, okay? So if you ask me how much I weigh and I say 14, it doesn't mean anything, right? What am I talking about? Kilograms? Am I talking about grams? Am I talking about pounds? Am I talking about ounces? I mean, honestly, none of those units make sense if I say 14, but you get the idea, right? There's different units for all types of measures. So in this case, we're going to say our unit is 2 grams per milliliter or centimeters cubed. Okay? Whenever we find volume, this thing wants to swing. Awesome. When we're finding density, we're always going to have the unit grams per milliliter or grams per centimeter cubed. Okay? And then in this case, this was our final answer. And in this class, we like to circle our answers because I don't like when I get paper turned into me where I have to search for the answer and hunt it down. That's a lot of work for me to do. Okay, so we circle our answers. All right, so that's how we find density. Hopefully this video was helpful. I feel like I was all over the place today. I'm sorry, but hopefully you guys got the idea. If you have any questions, you can email me, reach out, and alrighty, awesome. See you guys later.